Alexa, volume down. Excuse me. Happy Friday. My name is Carolyn, and I am going to be crocheting today. It's Friday. It's been quite a week, and I thought I would just kind of hang out and just chat and see what people are up to while I work on my latest project. Thank you for being here, Deborah, Diana. Nice to have you. I'm going to be working on this project today. It is a hexagon cardigan with crochet. And once I put 2 panels together, I'm gonna have a whole cardigan, which I actually have another one. Thanks for joining me on your Friday afternoon. All right, so this is what I am going to be making. It's upside down. But this is the cardigan that I will be making, and it's it doesn't take too long. It takes like maybe 2 or 3 days to do the body of it, and then the trim excuse me, takes a little bit longer, but it's not that bad of a project to make. So in a couple days you can have a whole cardigan. So now I'm working on others. Sorry, I have to cough. Sorry, I have to cough. That didn't work. All right, so it is Friday, right? It is? Okay. So yes, I just finished an audition. I had a self-tape. I am at an acting and filmmaking school, and I got a call back to submit a self-tape. So I just finished doing that, and I spent the whole morning getting my lines not memorized but understood, and coming up with a whole backstory to who I was. I was just playing a mom. But it went well, and I submitted it, and so now I'll just have to wait and see if they like it. It's so wonderful though. Oh, I have to already start a new ball. Apparently that's why I had finished last time, because I was at the end of a ball of yarn. Okay, well actually I had a little bit more, but that's annoying to have to start again. So I will just start with my whole other ball of yarn. Okay. Thank you guys for joining. My name is Carolyn. I am autistic. I have ADHD. I love crochet. I also am into acting and filmmaking. I just had an audition that I sent out a self-tape for and recorded that in my home, which is very convenient. I used to work in New York City. I'm a photographer, and I have been for like the last 15 years. And when I worked in New York City in studios, we used to have go-sees. Okay, this is so much. This is just very frustrating, because if you have ever had to start a ball of yarn, you know this is a lot of guts to have to take out. But yeah, I worked in New York City in a photography studio. It was commercial photography and fashion and editorial. We also did a lot of catalog stuff. So we would have Macy's and Bloomingdale's, and Nordstrom. We did a lot of like online stuff. But yeah, I always enjoyed being on set. And now I get to do it, but for films, and that is wonderful. All right, I'm gonna focus. So I am making a hexagon cardigan, which is actually very simple to make. Thank you guys for being here. Can anyone guess the inspiration for this one based on the colors? I live in Philadelphia, so it is, it's Phillies baseball inspired because I've got two boys who love sports. All right, so I had just finished, okay, so I'm making a hexagon cardigan, and all you do is, if you know how to do a granny cluster, you just make six sides, and then when you fold one side together, you get half of a panel of a sweater or a cardigan, and then just seam it down the middle. What I love about this project is it is pretty mindless once I get the yarn figured out, which I don't know why I'm so incapable of finding the end of that last row. Haha. Alright. Okay, so now I can join. Now I can join these two together. I know there's like a special knot that you can put together, but I don't know what that is. So I just knot it together and then weave in the ends. I'm sure that's not the right way. You're not supposed to do it that way. Well, thank you, Daniel. That's very nice of you. You know, we all could use a little bit more encouragement, so I appreciate that very much. Alexa, volume down. And turns out I don't love having music super loud while I'm on a live. Now I know. Okay. That's actually why I wanted to be, I wanted to have, why is it so flipping hot in here? That's one of the reasons I wanted to have this community on here, is because I feel like the world is really harsh right now, and I feel like I am far too whimsical for it, and like I don't want to have to fight and be hyper vigilant and have to do things like protest. I would like to be able to just sit and knit and crochet. Unfortunately, these times demand that we stand up and do something. So my part of the revolution is going to be to crochet. All right. So this is just, I'm making a hexagon cardigan and just, it's been a long week. You guys looking forward to the weekend? Any big plans? I kind of wanted to go out tomorrow to protest, but I don't think it's really safe as a single mom of 2 children. So I think instead I'm going to find ways to be able to support while staying at home. I heard of some knit-ins, so maybe that would be a good option for tomorrow. Could do that. Thank you guys for joining, for being here. I am crocheting a cardigan, and it's, you know, the end of the week. I had a great week though. One of my children just finished 8th grade, and he's starting high school, and I can't believe that. Because the time really does just fly by. I really should track how much of this I've got done. Let's see. Here's another little project that I made. It's just kind of ridiculous, but it's still using the same granny clusters. So if you know how to make this one stitch, this one little guy there, if you know how to do that, you can make an entire bag. Well, I mean, I had to do some seaming and stuff, but like I did this within 2 hours. It took no time whatsoever to make it. And I also kind of blame being neurodivergent for how quickly I can get stuff like this done, because my brain will just find anything to have a special interest in. So I found crochet a couple months ago, and ever since I found it, I've been watching all of the tutorials on TikTok, and I taught myself how to make clothing. So I've been making cardigans. This is for my oldest son. It's really friggin' hot though. But I like it so much. And I'm Canadian, so I feel like it also kind of works. I could wear it in Canada almost all of the time because it's cold. But yeah, I've become kind of obsessed with these cardigans, and they're quite easy to make. I'm in an acting and filmmaking school, and my classes last like 4 hours. And so I can just bring this with me and just work on it, as long as it's, you know, the middle section. It doesn't really distract me from class at all. And so I've been making clothes while in class. And I swear, having something to stim while I'm in class makes it so much easier for me to focus on what I actually have to pay attention to. All right, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I think I have got 17 rounds. See, I've got another one here. So I'm obsessed with these. They're like such a statement piece. I have gotten so many compliments on this thing. And like, oh, you can make big wide arms on it, or like my son's, his are like tapered on the ends. So I feel like this project gives me just the right amount of creative flexibility, because I can choose which colors I want and some of the finishes and some of the ways that I'm going to do like the trim. But it's so repetitive that my autism is very happy with it. So autism happy, ADHD happy, feels like crochet, and this project especially is a hit. Alexa, play Fontaine's DC.
Here's some music by Fontaine's DC on Amazon Music.
Thanks for joining, everyone. My name is Carolyn. I love to crochet. It's been a long week and I thought I would get a couple rounds of this cardigan done while chatting. So being autistic means that small talk isn't exactly my strong suit. I generally like to go right into info dumping or trauma dumping. So I'm gonna try to avoid doing that here, but I don't do well with like, what did you eat tonight? Or what's the weather like where you are? Those aren't the questions that really don't interest me. How are you doing? How has your week been? Was it on average better than it usually is? Were you struggling with anything? I just feel like my mental health has been like all over the place, and it's so like moment to moment dependent. So all right, so this cardigan, it's the exact same stitch all the way around except when you get to the corner. So when you get to a corner, you do 2 chains and then you go back to doing your double crochet, and you do 3 double crochets, and then you get to start over again into every little hole. So that's all it is. So it's just yarn over, go in, and again, I'm certainly not here to try to teach anyone how to crochet. There are amazing tutorials and on YouTube and on TikTok, so you can find every kind of stitch you would want. And then any project that you could possibly want, you can find it online. So one of the reasons that I really love to crochet is of all of the hobbies that I've had, I feel like it's the most affordable one, especially if you are autistic or have ADHD. You know, you can kind of get sucked into a lot of different hobbies, and it can be really expensive to constantly be buying new materials. Let's see, what are some of the hobbies that I started in the last year? Well, I'm at a filmmaking school, so I was doing lighting for films, and that became very expensive. And I was also making clay earrings. I bought a ton of clay and earring making supplies. I love like ASMR, so I think for a while I was just going online. Alexa, stop. I cannot handle that. I think for a long time I was going on, I was watching people's videos of them making earrings. And so I became really interested in it, and I thought I could do that. And so I did do that. I bought a bunch of supplies. And so now in my home, I've got the makings to have an earring shop. And yeah, I guess that was relatively inexpensive. But hobbies can be pretty problematic, especially when you do have ADHD. So yarn is far more affordable, and I am definitely not a yarn snob. I'm totally fine with acrylic yarn. Frankly, I'm allergic to wool, so my hair. Wool would not work for me, so this is much better. So I can have a cheap acrylic yarn and I think my little tool, my little kit for crochet was like $9 maybe, really inexpensive. So for under $15, I can have a pretty good amount of fun and make something that is of value to someone. So I'm very happy that I found crochet. I used to knit when I was little. I like to think there were signs that I was autistic, but I feel like girls, it doesn't manifest in the same way. So because I found socially acceptable ways of stimming, like repetitively stitching over and over, no one really noticed. I also did really well in school, like so well that I didn't really have to try, which became a gigantic problem when I went to university, because I was not equipped whatsoever. I had just done well. And so all of that went unnoticed, unrecognized. And then imagine how hard it was. Someone apparently is relating to this. So I'm glad to hear I'm not alone, but also I'm sorry that I'm not alone. But yeah, when I went to university and I had to actually start managing my time, and I couldn't just get away with memorizing work all the time, that's when I really floundered. So I did 2 years of university in psychology in Canada at AuDHD, and then I realized that I am, girls, just way too sensitive, and I knew that I was going to take all of everyone's problems home with me. But it didn't matter because I was struggling anyway just to get my work done. It was very, very difficult. So yeah. So someone can relate with that. How, and now if you ask anyone, or I'll speak for me. Now, if I ask anyone about being diagnosed for autism, one of the first questions that they ask you is, well, what did your parents say when you were growing up? Or did anyone have any issues with you? And heck no, they had no issues with me. I was amazing. I excelled at everything. I was the best little girl because I watched what everyone did. I saw what was socially acceptable. My autism could not have been a problem for my family, at least. I did have emotional meltdowns all the time, and my dad likes to think that it was funny that I would freak out. No, I don't think that was very funny. But yeah, there were definitely signs. My pattern recognition was so good in school because of that. I did really well with math and with science for the most part. But, and I see that with my children too now. That is exactly right. I learned to mask so well that then it became very hard for anyone to believe that there was anything that was going on with me. So I became a victim of my own masking, which is really annoying, right? But what I find most annoying, and people who are autistic, I feel like they can understand this, is that if you've been told that you're kind of weird your entire life, and you finally figure out what it is about you that's weird, and you try to tell people, hey, this is the thing, this is what's weird, and they say, no, everyone's like that. But you told me it was me. You said I was the one who was weird, and I figured it out why it is, and now I find that to be so infuriating. I don't know. But yes, I definitely learned the rules, and I love rules. Rules that make sense to me. Rules that don't make sense, I will easily break. I am a total dichotomy of things because It's not even like I'm flaky. Like I firmly believe in all one and all the other. And like I'm not trying to like play sides about things, but I'm very passionate about certain things. And then I think being autistic and having ADHD, it's just even more layers of wanting consistency and same, but then also novelty and like I can't be boxed into routine. I despise having a routine, but also, honey, my mental health suffers so bad if I'm left to my own devices. Like summers can be really hard because there's no structure and it makes it really difficult. I feel like I've just gone down a tangent. I'm in an acting school now, and it has been amazing. It's Meisner training, Meisner method, and basically Sanford Meisner believed in behaving authentically under imaginary circumstances, or behaving truthfully under imaginary circumstances. And my acting school that I've been at now for almost 2 years is probably the place that I feel the most comfortable. And I feel like having learned to script all of my life means that I was totally cut out to be an actor in this method in particular. And I don't have to guess anything. Like it's so comforting because as soon as I'm on stage, I know what is expected of me. I know I can't mess it up. And I can have such actor's faith, like believing that this situation is real. Like I have such empathy anyway, that I can fully commit to something. And I gotta say, I see a lot of what I think are like neurotypicals who struggle, or narcissists. I actually think it's probably narcissists who struggle the most because they have zero empathy. And so to try to watch a person who you know has no empathy have to connect with a scene partner, but you know that they don't have it in them. You just know. All of my sensitivity and all of my paying attention to other people and masking is now absolutely what is benefiting me at my acting school. And I think that is amazing and about time that I'm at a place where I kind of feel comfortable. And almost like my brain gives me a bit of an edge. But then the director will say stuff sometimes about how human nature has us all wearing masks and protecting ourselves. And so here's where the dichotomy is. Because yes, I can wear a mask in terms of like, I don't want to make a fool of myself, but also I can't be insincere. I will absolutely tell the truth. If I have to lie to someone, I would rather just like run away and not even do that, because I cannot be insincere, but I can mask. But anyway, when I see people being insincere on stage, I just see it. I just recognize it. It almost feels icky. Knowing that someone is being disingenuous, it just feels icky. I'm gonna make a film about this stuff too. Maybe about my discovery of being autistic into my 40s. It really is about representation, isn't it? In things like films, and I mean, especially for women with autism, there's just always been this idea of what a stereotypical child with autism would look like. So there's just been whole generations of women who have not gotten the care and the treatment that they need. And you know, what comes from that? How much of the trauma that I experience just in day-to-day has nothing to do with childhood stuff. Maybe it has to do with being on the spectrum and not not having nearly enough accommodations, and just getting through a day is very difficult. There are so many challenges that I think, well, I don't know, it's just really hard. I say it's kind of like, I tried to explain to some people that it's like growing up thinking that you're a weird horse, but then you find out that you were a zebra. And so you were raised by a family of horses and you just thought you were really strange, but it's because you had totally different needs and you were not like them. And so there's like some grieving that happens, and yeah, there's definitely some grief, recognizing that people didn't see how much you were struggling, how hard just like everyday stuff is. For me in particular, some things that are really hard for me to stay on top of are like it's executive dysfunction stuff. It's the executive function stuff. So doing the dishes, doing laundry, and doing the things that are not at all exciting, those are so difficult for me to find the energy to be able to muster through. And yeah, and it's not a lazy thing either, because I have so much energy. But it's like, unless it is absolutely interesting and exciting to my brain, it is so difficult for me to fight the resistance on boring, repetitive, monotonous tasks. I really don't like it. All right, I think. Okay, so I am making a hexagon cardigan. And when I put these two ends together, and this will be one sleeve, and then I'll do another one and I'll stitch them together, and it will look like this. This is super easy to find the pattern online too. Yeah, you can easily find this, but I love it so much. And I've got big wide sleeves for this one. And then I made another one and it has more tapered sleeves so that it doesn't like dunk into the sink when washing dishes, which this has done many, many times. But yeah, so I am crocheting, and I don't know if I've said it recently, but Jen, you're working on a hexagon cardigan too? Why do I keep saying it weird? Hexagon. I don't know, I'm Canadian, and apparently I say tomorrow and tomorrow. Apparently I say that differently. Sorry, out and about. It's your first time making one? Yay! What colors did you use? So yeah, I live in Philadelphia, and it is now baseball season. So last time that I was at the art supply store, I noticed these two colors were almost like side by side, but not like on purpose. But I thought, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I want to do. So I am making a Phillies inspired cardigan. Purple and gray yarn? Ooh. I have some purple and some gray in mine. Well, that is really fun. If it's your first one, I hope that you are enjoying the process. I totally got hooked on them because I feel like it's just the right amount of flexibility. Like I can choose the colors that I want. I can choose what kind of sleeves I want, but also I don't need to focus so much on a pattern and counting. And I did amigurumi, like the little tiny animals that you can make. Those patterns are just way too precise. Frankly, I just don't think that they work for me. So like I can't just zone out and make one of those. Well, yay for learning a lot. That's excellent. Yeah, and if you have to frog it and start over or undo a few rows. Ooh, you usually make blankets? I grew up knitting, and I made so many square and rectangle projects because I had no idea how to make anything else. I think I tried, actually I think I made like a little child's kimono one time, and I did make some little baby hats, but aside from that, everything that I had knit was all squares and rectangles. And like everyone in my family got scarves and blankets all the time for like every holiday. Again, there were signs that I was autistic, but they were just socially acceptable, and so no one really noticed. So now, having discovered crochet, which I only really picked up this hook in February, or June now, so it's been just a couple months, and I've taught myself how to make cardigans, little animals. I've got my, I hate the colors, but I've got this little tote bag that I made that I can bring my whatever work in progress that I've got. I just put her in here and bring that with me. But again, like it's all, for the most part, these are all just, well, first I I just made this on my own. Thank you guys for being here, by the way. Follow, like this live, share it if you want. I'm just trying to create a nice cozy little space online for us for people who like to crochet, are maybe neurodivergent, like trauma-informed stuff. So I like to talk about hard things and difficult things, but I'm also not, I don't have toxic positivity. So I am not the kind of person who's going to say that anything that happened to you makes you stronger and that you are better because of it, because I do not believe that. I believe that a lot of things that happen to people really mess them up. And it really bothers me that we're told that we have to always make something good out of something shitty that happened to us. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I'm sorry. But again, like, why should I feel bad about the way that I described the situation? The situations I was in, those should feel bad for how they were, not me, but... So, anyway, it's a Friday evening? It's Friday evening, yeah. And I just wanted to be able to sit here with people, and I don't know, the world right now is just, it's very intense. It's a little overwhelming, and I don't have the best defenses. I befriend people very, very easily, very quickly, and I don't think that that's the right strategy. I think I need to kind of reverse that process and kind of not trust people first until they prove that I can trust them. And I don't know, I just always project my own goodness onto other people, and yeah, that's become overwhelming. So I have decided to shrink my social circle a little bit. Maybe consider that a lot of people that I thought were friends are maybe more just acquaintances. Maybe they're not friends. And it kind of sucks having to make come up with these realizations when you are a grown-ass adult. But again, I don't know if it's because I am autistic. I used to think it was because I'm Canadian, but I don't think it's that either. I think I am always floored when I see someone be mean or cruel. And yet I have experienced all of that. So that's what makes me feel a little bit deficient. And like my kindness, I always thought my kindness is not a weakness. But now, maybe my kindness is a weakness. Maybe. And that's why I just kind of want to self-protect so much right now. Because I will be so kind and then a situation will just blow up in my face and everyone else seems to see that it was obvious or a given, but I didn't. And so yeah, maybe my kindness actually is a weakness. So I'm trying to figure out how to be tougher, how to be more guarded, how to not trust. And that doesn't feel great either, because I'd like to be able to trust in people's decency and but again, that's what my acting classes kind of taught me. The director, I will sit in class and listen to how people mask all the time or how they're fake and inauthentic. And I realized that I've been going around this world being very sincere, wearing my heart on my sleeve, and I thought other people were doing the same thing. And they're not. So unfortunately, you can really get taken advantage of. Well, that was a rant. So instead, we make pretty things and we crochet. I got an emotional support dog a couple years ago when I was at my lowest of dealing with trauma and a pretty awful abusive situation. So I got a dog, and my trauma is healing, and it slowly is getting better over the years, and she's still here, my dog. And I love her, but I think she might actually cause me a lot more PTSD than not having her. And so I find that also to be kind of interesting. Her bark just always makes me feel like I am, well, like there's like a grenade going off, and it's so high pitched and it's so right into my spine, and I feel it and it makes me flinch and I get hyper vigilant. And so I love her, and I'm going to make the most of my time with my doggie. But I don't know, an emotional support pet. It's a long commitment. I have children too, so I've committed to being responsible and being a caregiver. It's fine. I love her, but she's very, very yappy, and she's a very little dog who likes to feel very big. All right, so let's see. I've got, I should really weave in these ends. If you crochet, do you weave them in as you go, or do you wait until the end and deal with that? Because I feel like I should weave them in. I'm going to weave them in as I go. So actually, I'm going to stop right now. No. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish this one round, because I'm already, let's see. Yeah, so I just have to go back to here. Got that. It's ugly on that side. It's so much prettier on this side. So what do you think? Phillies inspired cardigan for baseball season in Philadelphia? I think we're gonna get a lot of compliments. I say we because I'm gonna be lending this to my son. I have a teenage son and he loves all of this stuff. He's actually the person that I made this one for. He wanted a statement piece and he said, yep, like think of like Travis Kelce or Jason Kelce. Like they love wearing like really cool items when they go to their games. So that's what my son wanted. So he asked me to knit or to crochet that for him. So everyone gets a crochet cardigan. All right. Alexa, play Fontaine's DC. Alexa, volume down. Okay. Alexa, volume down. Okay. Thanks for being here. My name is Carolyn. I love to crochet. I am on the spectrum. I am also an aspiring actor. Not really though. I'm an aspiring filmmaker. I've got a lot of films that I want to make and a lot of stories that I think aren't really being told. So that's what I want to do. In the past 2 years that I've been at my filmmaking school, I have worked on like a dozen short films, both in front of the camera and behind, because I am also a photographer. That's what I've been doing for like the last, well, that's what my career is. I am a photographer and I have a lot of experience being on set on like fashion and editorial photo shoots. So at my school, I happen to be one of the people who has the most lighting experience, and that has come very handy when people have to put their, when they make their films. So I've had a lot of fun in the last couple years. Yeah, I've been at this school for almost 2 years, and I actually wrote my first script, and we produced it. We produced the first short film. It kind of went to SHIT though, unfortunately, because all of the films I want to make are about coercive control. And unfortunately, I was coercively controlled out of my film by a male director who wanted to get 50% writing credits. And I said no, that he would get a script editor credit because he had helped edit my film, which was a personal trauma I had gone through. So this man who edited the script, when it was time to sign the contract, and this was my fault, this was absolutely my fault, again, too trusting. I assume people are going to do the right thing and behave with integrity, and this man had love bombed me from the moment that he met me through my school. Like to the point where like his fiance, the first time that she met me, she said, wow, does he ever have a crush on you? So he had been trying to gas me up, and he had even mentioned when we were working together and he was directing, he said something about getting a contract. And I had always told him, again, very honest, I said, I don't know what I don't know. You've already made short films. Come to me with a contract and I'll sign it. Because in good faith, absolutely. He's already done this. He knows the language. He knows. So I said, yes, do it and I will sign it. Well, this is twice that this man mentioned, oh, hey, we got to have a contract. And I said, yes, please do it. And he never did. And now I know the reason he never did is because what he wanted ultimately, he knew I was never going to say yes to. I was never going to give him half of my film, which essentially I kind of already was because I let him be director. I asked him to direct it because I was going to be in it, so I wanted someone else. So I gave this man already 50% of my film by allowing him to be director. And then he wanted to have 50% of the writing. And I had sent my script. So first he says, no way, I'm not signing that. And I said, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. And he said, not unless you give me 50-50. And at first I said no, because I was referring to no 50% of the writing. And I said, wait, I am giving you 50%. You're literally getting director of my film that I wrote. And so no, that's what you're getting. And so he said no to it. And I said, okay. And then I went back and I realized that I had sent that script to 2 other people before sending it to him. So I had evidence that he did not write it, that I sent it to other people. I was then able to highlight the parts that he had changed, and he had changed 4 to 6%, which in film or in writing, that is a script editor credit. That is not a co-writing credit. Like that, he wanted to take 50% of the writing. Like I was already giving him director. I already gave him that. Like he even said, this is a thanks I get. Like, sir, yes, this is a thanks you get. I gave you my project and here you are trying to strong man me out of it. Like to be coercively controlled, and I could, so my special interest is psychopathy and psychopaths. And this is after having been abused by my doctor. And when I reached out for help a few years ago, they told me to watch all the documentaries about Ted Bundy. And so I did. And I had physical shock for about 3 weeks. I couldn't move. I was trembling. I was shaking. I could not believe that the person who had told me that they cared, were in love, wanted to marry me, that it had all been fake. As I say this is why I hate fakeness, because it doesn't feel safe. It does not feel safe. It's like I have literally had Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and so a person who lies and is able to be insincere, they just don't feel safe at all. So the films that I will be working on are going to be about coercive control, either in families, friendships, doctor-patient settings, schools, the military. I now work as a volunteer or a responder for the same organization that helped me file a report against my doctor because it was so bad. It's known as professional incest and rape because basically you tell your doctor things that you would never tell anyone else. I never would have told any man the things that I told my doctor, that he then was able to use against me over and over and over in a very abusive, exploitative way. And it was horrific, absolutely horrific. So the short film that I just made was partly about that and how I had lost one of my best friends when I went forward with this. And oh yes, and he did admit to being to abusing me and did have to surrender a couple of his licenses. So I was never lying. I had proof for all of this. I had emails, I had text messages, I had proof for all of this. And my doctor tried to harass me, cyber stalk me, witness intimidate me when he found out that I was the one who filed the report. It was a whole nightmare. But the film that I wrote was about the fallout between me and my closest girlfriend at the time. And so to have this director befriend me, knowing all of the trauma I had gone through, and that his entire plan, the whole time, was that he was going to wait until the end so he could ask for 50%. And why? Why, Carolyn? Why would he want 50% of your film? Because that's what a lot of people have asked me. There's enough other students at my school. Why wouldn't he just work with them? And it's because I am on the board for the same volunteer organization. I know a ton of people in my city, and I have a very huge network that I am interested in reaching out to when it's time for film festivals. So when I do have a film that I am extremely proud of, I intend on crowdfunding and raising money to be able to bring that to film festivals to be able to bring awareness. So this friend of mine thought that he was going to be able to take that. That's why he was trying to get 50% of my film, and he could have been satisfied with being the director of that film, and yet he wasn't. He later said, Carolyn, whatever you want, I'll sign it. And I said, oh, in hindsight, I bet you really regret it, don't you? But like at that point, there's no way I was going to show the film that he and I made together and give him any part of praise or accolades. Like there was not after you try to manipulate me. It's ridiculous. Psychopaths are so friggin' pathetic and predictable. This guy had been love bombing me from the moment that I met him, trying to make me feel special, trying to say that he had never worked with anyone who was like me and that we had such a special bond, and I was trusting him because he had a fiance, so he seemed like a safe person. And I had even said when I was putting my film crew together that I wanted to have a guy on set because I wanted to be inclusive. I didn't want to be perceived as like man-hating or not wanting men to be part of it. So I brought this guy on to my film to be director, and he made me regret it in the worst way possible. I could not. Like it was one of those things where he was so responsive in the beginning, right? So, okay, so let's talk about it. So he was so responsive. Asking me out to go for coffee, let's meet, let's talk. He tells me he wants me to be the director of photography. And I was so excited. I really was flattered in the beginning too. Like, okay, that's awesome. But I have such a strong vision of things that I want to do. The films that I make, I know the look that I want them to have. I know the music that I want it to have. I know the feeling with the acting. Like, I feel like being autistic and having been a photographer for almost 15 years, I have a vision, and I don't do well working for other people. I have done that already. I like to be leader. I'm a very fair leader, and I love to take in everyone's opinions and ideas, but I have very strong ideas about things that I want to do. And if I'm going to be writing a script, especially a script that was based on my own trauma, I need to have control over that project. And that's where this one I did not have control over it, and I was getting really angry and frustrated because when I first approached him, I said, I've got a script. And he said, oh yeah, what do you want? What are you thinking? And I said, I think I want you to direct. And I said that because I was going to be acting in it. And so as much as I wanted to direct it, I know that for like your first films, you should probably have someone else who's able to make sure the continuity is there, make sure that everything is happening the way it should be. So I really wanted him to be director of photography more than director, and that's why I said, I think I want you to be director. Well, Jesus, from the moment that I said that, he ran with it, and he was like, oh, this is gonna be mine. So I sent him a script, and so I sent him a script, and then we're talking about this film, and it's like a couple weeks later, and I'm trying to find a physical copy of it so that he and I can meet together for coffee and go over it. I said via text, shoot, I can't find it. I don't know where it is. That's a bummer. And he said, no problem. I think it's great. We can work on it together. Okay, wait, we can work on it together? Okay, so he was setting that up. So he was saying it's really great that I had lost it, but at this point, he already had it. I forgot I had sent it to him, but for him to make it seem like, oh, well, we'll work on this together now from scratch, I have the receipts. I had sent it to him weeks before, so he could have printed out a copy. If you're here, Thanks for joining. I'm crocheting, I'm chit-chatting, and this has gone into the story of how I got screwed over by a director on the first short film that I ever made that I am currently making. It's all about coercive control, and I was coercively controlled out of my own damn film, which is annoying, but that's okay, because I've learned lessons and I won't let that happen again. So we meet for coffee, I share the story, and this guy, again, so friggin' manipulative when you look back at these things because they're kind of predictable. So this guy, while sitting in front of me at our meeting, says, Carolyn, it's such an honor. It's such an honor and a privilege to be working on this with you, and I'm so happy that you trust me to do this, and I just want you to know that if ever going forward you don't want me to work with you, he starts crying and he says, I'll understand. And I was like, this is so weird that he's crying right now. And that he's preemptively anticipating that I'm not going to want to work with him. He cried another time too, where I was like, it was because he had made a mistake. So like our entire film had gone so well, and it was only at the end after we had wrapped and we had to actually like edit it and put everything together. Oh, he showed me the first cut. He showed me the first cut of it, and on the writer's credits, this dude literally put his name above mine. On my film, he put his name above the credits that I wrote, and he made me have to, at the end, awkwardly laugh it off and say, yeah, no, I guess your name could be above mine in the credits. Sure, that seems reasonable. And then he sheepishly was like, oh, ha ha ha, I could probably go and change that. And I was like, yeah. It was so hard for me already to assert myself. And he knows this because I had told him that I'm autistic and that I don't really like conflict. And of course, I told this dude way too much that I then regretted. So it was hard enough for me to ask him to move his name from the credits. But after he had this script and he added or like rewrote it, which were really just 4 to 6% of changes, he friggin' put his name on the front of the script too. He wrote it written by me and then his name. And I was just like, and at first I didn't want to cause problems. And I was like, well, that's very presumptuous of him to do that. And he put his production company at the bottom. And I said, hey, I really feel like we should have like a different production company. Like I'd like to have my own that I come up with. Like, so this guy was friggin' taking over everything that I was working on. And in the end, when I enumerated, when he said, Carolyn, I've always been respectful. And then I listed the 6 ways that he had in fact not been respectful and made me have to call him out. And then to all of them, he said, oh, if only I knew, had I only known that was an issue. And I'm like, I told you 2/3 of these were issues and you in fact did not care about it. And psychopaths will do that, right? They will push and push and push. And then when you say something, it's, oh, I didn't know. Oh, what do I have to do here? Okay, I gotta swipe this. Okay. Now I don't know what I was saying. Darn TikTok. Oh yes, they'll push and push and push and then make the onus yours, right? I mean, it's complete Darvo. It's deny the attack and reverse victim offender. So me getting upset with him for encroaching on my project now becomes him saying, oh, well, if I had just known, if you had just told me, Carolyn, I wouldn't have done that. Like, dude, grow up. You're a man. You don't take and then force other people to have to enforce boundaries always. Like, it was just so gross. And at one point he threatened to just throw in the towel and just like give me all of my content. And I was like, okay. And then you realize that would be ridiculous, right? Like, I I worked in New York City. I've worked for Nordstrom and for Harper's Bazaar and Macy's and Bloomingdale's, and I could not imagine telling the photographer that I was working for, if they asked me to do something justified, that I would have the audacity to tell them afterwards, yeah, well, you know what? I was almost about to have a tantrum and just like quit. They would have said like, get the hell out of here. Like, I don't, but this man thought it was okay to talk to me in that way. So this is where I realized after we had finished wrapping, I was like, everything was going well until now. And now this dude is trying to like do all of this manipulative bullshit. I was so upset. So I'm gonna go back into my little cocoon for a bit. But really what it is I should never have let someone else take my film. You know, intellectual property is very valuable. If I write a script and it does well, why should I have to share 50% of that with a man who contributed factually 4 to 6% of something? Like, and then this had to get out to my school and to everyone, and I was basically said that the message is that I'm not as nice as I appear to be, which, like, no, don't try to steal from me and then think I'm gonna be nice. That wasn't okay. So yeah. Dude didn't try to take other people's projects. He didn't try to become writer on other men's projects, just on mine. So anyway, this goes to show I have to stop being so friggin' inclusive. Do most adults learn this when they're younger? I feel like being plagued with abuse and being on the spectrum makes it really difficult for me to understand conventions and like what to expect of other people. I thought everyone wanted to be nice to each other. They really don't. And I say that my doctor, who did exploit me for years, said one of his favorite things about me was that I was naive. And he had to say, that's not a bad thing, or don't take that as a bad thing. And I remember thinking, what? But why would I have even taken that as a bad thing? Why would I consider being naive to be a bad thing? Now I understand why being naive is a bad thing. Being overly trusting means that people can pull one over you. But again, the dichotomy, right? Because I can tell now when there's a psychopath, and actually that's really what frustrates me the most, is I might not be able to understand all social norms and conventions, or realize that most people are usually like being fake or just not being authentic. But when I see someone who is a narcissist or a psychopath, and I try to warn others, and I realize that it just makes me look like a fool, well, that's just frustrating, because there's nothing you can do. But psychopaths do have a couple common tells. They love to smirk at other people's discomfort and their pain. They have a smirk. Like, they're literally sadistic. My doctor, who hurt me terribly, was cruel in the weirdest of ways. So he can also still practice. He's still a doctor. Because, get this, in the state of Pennsylvania, because he was a marriage therapist and a social worker before he was my doctor, he was that while he was my doctor and had not yet had his psychology degree, psychology license until after I had been his patient. He doesn't have to get rid of that one. So it would be like a nurse harming a patient, but now that they're a doctor, being like, oh no, now they're fine. Like, what? He was also the president of the Counseling Association and an Ivy League professor. So this guy, I most certainly was not his only victim. He absolutely does it to other people, because there's no way that you would take the chances that he did with me for the very first time. Like, he was so brazen. And he authors books now on ethical boundaries in therapy, which is why I decided to come forward, because I realized that if I didn't say something, that there is a good chance he would be allowed to get away with it. But in the end, he's probably still allowed to get away with it. So then I thought, well, if this isn't going to help anyone, I'm going to have to do a TED Talk about this. But I have CPTSD and I'm autistic, and I knew I would probably lose consciousness or pass out from anxiety and panic attacks. So I went to an acting and filmmaking school, and that's where I am now. I'm going to make films about all of the nonsense that I've been through. I think there is a need for films by women, by neurodivergent humans, by just a bunch of stories that haven't been told over and over and over. I saw Fontaine's DC a couple weeks ago in DC. I'm in Philadelphia, but actually I'm feeling pretty proud of that. We went, it was my Mother's Day gift with my oldest son, my ex-husband, and yeah, we did so well. I was so proud of us. We were like a little mature little blended family for the weekend. I'm so proud when we're able to put my kids first, which has been hard. You know, any divorce, any marriage that ends, it's difficult. We were together for like 15 years too, so it feels really nice to be able to do things together, because I actually really liked my ex-husband. I just didn't think that, I felt like we were better off as friends. I was so young when I met him. So I'm just really proud of us that we're able to get along for the kids and put our own issues aside, because Lord knows neither of us got that modeling. You know how hard it is to parent well when you've never been shown how to do it and you're kind of making it all up on the fly. All right, I think I'm just gonna finish doing this last round. Thanks for being here, hanging out with me while I crochet. I think I've got a little bit of work to do. My school has a film festival every year, and I'm on the film festival committee. And we just announced who had, which submissions made it. We had 63 submissions and 40 of them made it. So it's like short film boot camp. And I love it because I get to see so many new upcoming talented filmmakers and actors, and then also get to vote on who we think are going to be, so we're part of the grand jury. So right now, my role is to collect all of the information from all of the filmmakers for their award nominations, and yeah, all the details. So it's just a lot of copying and pasting into a document, but I gotta make sure that I don't mess anything up. And I'm bummed because the film that I had made, I really wanted to enter into this film festival specifically. I'm trying not to be bitter. But there were certain things about the film that I didn't end up liking. You know, I made it, it was a 6-minute short film, and there were some things that were a little bit on the nose. Like some of the dialogue was a little bit too, you can show, don't tell kind of thing. Or another way to look at it is it's what other people say about your character than more than what you say. So I feel like a lot of some of the dialogue, yeah, it just didn't really work for me. And also some of my acting I didn't like either. And so I'm not exactly heartbroken that the film isn't going to be shown. I am salty that I invested my money. It was, you know, under $1,000, but again, for the director to say that he should be given 50%, it was like, where did you contribute any money to this film so far? Like, I don't know, it's just so egregious. It's so like, the audacity of people. I would just be happy to be part of someone's project. I most certainly wouldn't try to take it. Anyway, now I know. If people come on too strong, be weary. The sun is starting to set here. Let's see what time. Oh no, it's just like setting on me right now. It's getting hot. Thanks for being here. I am crocheting a hexagon cardigan. Can you guess which city I live in? If I say that it's baseball themed? Go take my doggies for a walk. I have 2 dogs. Does anyone else have any pets here? Mine are pretty loud whenever anyone comes to the door. But they're cute. All right, I'm almost done. Once I connect this, I'm gonna just finish the second row here of blue. Okay. So this sweater is so easy to crochet, and I highly recommend it if you are looking for a project. It's basically just these granny clusters, which are, it's like 3 double crochets. So here, I'll just do it real quick. Yarn over, go into the one little hole here, and a double crochet, and you do that 3 times over. And so now we've got our little cluster. And you just keep going around and around, and it's in the shape of a hexagon. So let's finish this here. When you come to the corner, you do the same thing, which is your triple double crochet, 2, 3, and then you just do 2 chains, 1, 2, and that is going to create your corner. So when you come back in, you do 3 more. Now we've made a little corner, and then just go into the next area and slip stitch, hand. Uh-huh. All right. So with my 2 panels here, okay, so imagine this little guy here. So that's what it will end up looking like. You seam it down the back, you seam it up the sleeves, add a little bit more onto each sleeve, and you've got yourself a cardigan. So I am really hot right now. It is toasty. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I really have appreciated hanging out and just kind of blabbing about my day and about some things. I hope it's never too much. And if you want to follow along, I would love that, because I'm looking for other really wonderful humans to be able to kvetch to. And I don't know that out there is very safe right now, so in here might be. Thanks guys, and have an amazing Friday night, and we'll see you guys soon.